כולכם תברוכים.
Good evening, Rabbi. We were discussing the last few times the proper way to pronounce the Hebrew, Lashon HaKodesh. And we went through the whole alphabet, and we went through the Nikudot also, the vowels as well. So there was a couple of unfinished things when it comes to the vowels. And also, once we finish the vowels, I also want to discuss the issue of Mila'el or Mila'ra, how to pronounce the words properly. Which syllable do you stress in the word? The first syllable, the last syllable? There's a lot of confusion about this today because different communities do it in a different way, and some of these minhagim are mistaken. So therefore, we have to teach people how to do everything the right way. So just to discuss the last nikudot before we go to the reading of El Milara, we didn't talk about chirik, which is the one dot. So the question is, how do you pronounce chirik? So most people, they say the E sound, right? Which is like the I, the E, right? E is chirik, right? But the truth is, there are some communities like the Iraqi. What they do is they don't say E, they say like, not so high like that. So what does that mean? Instead of saying Mitzrayim, they say Mitzrayim. Or instead of saying imo, they say imo. You understand? It's not so high. So the truth is that it seems like that's the more correct way of doing it. But the chirik is not all the way high, like the yud. The yud is like all the way. E, but the chirik is like, not so high like that. That's the difference, right? So that's why when Maran Rabbi used to say some things in Hebrew, like in Torah, so he would say, there's something like in the Gemara, it says, Rabbi Yosef nimuko imo. Right? So, what does that mean? That Rabbi Yosef, the halacha was like him. Why? Because he used to bring good reasoning for everything. So it says nimuko. If you say nimuko imo, that would be the normal way of saying it, right? Like most people. But the rabbi didn't say imo, he would say imo. Like that, Not so high. So again, right, you see that the chirik is not so high, according to the real proper pronunciation. Also, another thing, we said that the kamatz, which is the half plus sign, right, the half cross, kamatz. The Sfaradim don't say like the Ashkenazim, right? The Ashkenazim, they say kamatz o. But we, Sfaradim, we say kamatz a. A little bit longer, right, than the patach. That's the difference. A little bit of a big, tunwag derah. That's the difference between this and that. But the interesting thing is that sometimes even this, according to Sephardi custom, which is the proper dikduk of Hebrew, the Lashon HaKodesh, the kamatz becomes o. When is that? Yossi? When does the kamatz become o? According to our custom. Somebody tell me. When it's before Sheva, right? When a kamatz is before Sheva has two dots, like this, horizontally. Right? If it's before the Sheva, kamatz becomes o. So therefore the word, like, chokhmah, right? We don't say chachma. What's under the chet? It's kamatz there. But we don't say chachma. We say chokhmah. Why? Because the kamatz is coming before the sheva. That's the difference, right? Which is under the chaf. So therefore it becomes chokhmah, not chachma. I remember there was one boy, who was a Baal Tshuva in our yeshiva, and I was studying with him in the Eretz Israel. So, he would say, he was a Russian boy, whatever. So he thought that he was smarter than everybody else, So he would say, chachma, I would tell him, why you say chachma? Say chokhmah. That's not the way to say, So he told me, but it's kamatz over there. You have to say chachma. I said, no, there's a rule about that. It doesn't work like that. So the rule is, in general, when the kamatz comes before the sheva, or it's at two dots, becomes chokhmah, right? That's the rule. So a person has to know that, right? in order to pronounce everything properly. This is one of the important things that a person has to understand. Okay, there's more things to understand, but I just want to go through with you the Kriyat Shema in order to understand how to pronounce properly everything in the Kriyat Shema, right? So first of all, the first pasuk, right? I think we talked about this before maybe, but anyway, I want to reiterate, right? How do you say Shema, right? So some of the Ashkenazim, they say all kinds of things, the Ashkenazim. They say Shema, Shema. That's not correct, how they say, right? Why is that? Because since there's a Sheva under the Shin, and it's the first letter of the word, so it's not Shema, it's Shema. Because that's a Sheva Na, it's not Sheva Nach. There's Sheva Nach, there's Sheva Na, depending on where it's located. So therefore, the proper way is to say Shema and not Shema. This is not correct. Right? First of all, right? Okay, so then we have the Israel. Okay, pretty much we know more or less, right? But the truth is, also Israel. The Ashkenazim also here don't say it like we do. Our pronunciation is better. How do they say Israel? They say Israel, Israel. But this is not correct, right? Israel. That's the correct way to say it, So a person shouldn't make that mistake, because under the Aleph there's a tzeret, 2 dots like this, right? Horizontally. For our custom, that's not A. It's not the A sound, like baseball, It's A. So therefore it's Israel, not Israel. This is not the proper way to say it. Okay, good. So what about the word Adonai? So here also, right, the Ashkenazim, we already discussed, right, how they say the word Adonai in a very strange way, which, many times is very problematic. Not the proper way. But also there's one thing, which I want to tell you, which is that even if you pronounce it the proper way, but if you stress the wrong syllable, in the word of Hashem Hashem, you're going to also get it wrong. So what does that mean? The proper way to say Hashem Hashem is Adonai. Like this, right? You stress the first syllable and then the nun. But the way some people do Adonai, this is not correct. Like this to say Adonai. Like, some Ashkenazim say like this, You're stressing the wrong syllables. Mila'el, mila'ra, right? You're making it the wrong way. So if a person is doing, let's say, Birkat HaKohanim, right? Like a Chazan or whatever, or they're doing, what do you call it? Hallel sometimes also, they make the same mistake. When they're singing Hallel, Adonai! No, not like that. If you really go to the good spot in Minyan, like Maran used to have the best Chazanim over there, not Adonai, it's Adonai. That's the proper way to say it, right? Make sure you get it right, because everything makes a difference, As we already mentioned, right? That reading everything the proper way makes it much stronger. You create the malachim, you create all kinds of creations, the worlds, olamot, all kinds of things. So make sure you get it right. We also talked about the word echad, right? So here, there are some, people who make the dalet too hard, So what they do is they say echad, too hard like that, the dalet, right? Making it into a nuclear bomb. Too much. So you might gotta make it a little bit softer, right? Echad. That's the proper way. Why? Because there's no dagesh in the dalet. There's no dot inside there. So therefore, it becomes a soft dalet. The soft dalet is like a th sound. Echad, like that, soft. I'm sorry? Yes, you're right. Absolutely. Right? Good. Thanks for reminding me that too as well. So that's the thing, right? Make sure you get it right. The dalet has to be not echad du. Oh, too much. You're making an earthquake you're making the walls rattle. Not too much over there, like that. That's not the proper way. The Gemara warns us, by the way, not to do it this way. There's also another way to make a mistake, that sometimes when the dalet is soft, without dagesh, it's rafui, so some people say it too soft. Today nobody does this, but in the old days there was a thing like this, They used to say like a resh, echar, like this, This is also wrong. Too soft. So don't make it too hard. Too hard. Don't make it too soft. Proper way is echad, like this, soft. This is the proper way to do it. Okay, very good. So now we go to the meat of the Kriyat Shema, right? The first parak, And what does it say over there? Right, the word ahavta, the ahavta. So here also, right, the person can get this really wrong. How can he get it wrong? If he says ve'ahavta, this is the wrong way to say it. Why is it wrong? He's stressing the wrong syllable. He's stressing the first syllable, right, instead of the last. And what's coming out is that he's saying it like past tense. This turns into past tense. She'avar. So it's like, that means you loved. In other words, you loved Hashem yesterday, and today maybe not. Chas v'shalom. This is what it means when you say. Very bad, right? So make sure you get it right. The ahavta, not the ahavta. This is the wrong way to say it, right? The Ashkenazim, unfortunately, they're not medactic so much with these things, and they say, a lot of things the wrong way. So, since this is not our custom, Baruch Hashem, we shouldn't emulate them. This is not the proper way to do, because our custom is more correct. Right? So make sure you get that right. And here also, right, the word et, it has sere under it, not segol. So the Ashkenazim will say eight, ace, right, like that, right? The ace of spades, whatever, right? Whatever you call it. That's the way. But by us, it's not like that. It's et, right? Et. So what does that mean? The tzere we say like not a. Again, here same thing. Okay, very good. So also the word levavecha, right? You have to know how to say that properly. So the truth is, you hear many Ashkenazim. What they do is they say levavecha. That's not really correct. Levavecha. 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 It has to be. Why? Because there's over here, you have the sheva na, which is under the second bet. So therefore it becomes levavecha, not levavecha. Not the same thing, right? Make sure you get that right. Okay. And then, here also, right, the word v'chol nafshecha. Right? The word nafshecha, don't say nafshecha. This is not correct. Nafshecha. Mistake. That's how the Ashkenazim they say sometimes. It has to be nafshecha. That's the proper stress on that word. Okay. And very good. Also the word uvechol, right? Uvechol. Make sure you get that right also, because the person can say that also the wrong way. Then the word, okay, let's go on. The word v'hayu hadevarim, right? So the word devarim, it shouldn't be hadvarim. This is a mistake, right? It should be hadevarim. Hadevarim. Why? Because there's a dagesh in the dalet, there's a dot inside there. So instead of being hadvarim, hadevarim. That's the way it has to be. Make sure you get that right. Right? And the word ha'ele, here also the Ashkenazim will say ha'ele. Eile. But that's not how we say it. We say ha'ele. Okay. Also the word mitzadecha, right? What's the wrong way to say mitzadecha? Mitzadecha is the wrong way. Or mitzadecha. Wrong way. How do you say mitzadecha? Mitzadecha. This is the proper way to say it. Okay, let's go on a little bit. Yes. Melachim. Yeah, right. Hamelachim. By the way, I want to tell you something interesting since you mentioned that. There's a famous mistake when it comes to Shalom Aleichem. You know what it is? A lot of people don't know this. How do you start saying, right? Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, right? So the Ashkenazim, what they do is they say Mi Melech, right? But the truth is, this is not the correct Girsa. The correct Girsa is Melech, Malachi Malachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not Mi Melech. Why? Huh? Melech. You have to make it longer. It comes out. You have to get used to it. You know what I mean? So why do I tell you that? Because what are you really saying, right? Let's translate the words. Shalom Aleichem. What are you really saying? You're saying Shalom Aleichem. Peace be to you, right? The angels. You're telling them Shalom. Shalom Aleichem. Here also, by the way, you can say it the wrong way. Shalom Aleichem. This is not the right way. Aleichem. That's the way to say it. Not Aleichem. Wrong way. Shalom Aleichem. So, Malachi Asharet, the ministering angels, that's what you're telling them, right? So then, what are you telling them? Mi Melech, who is the king? What, you're asking them who's the king? Does that make any sense? They don't know who's the Melech? Mi Melech, who's the king? What, they don't know? What, maybe they're working for somebody else. Maybe they're working for Putin, right? I don't know. He's the Melech, right? I don't know. Who are they working for? Right? So he's the Melech. You don't have to tell me Melech. So what are you really telling them? You're telling them they are Malchi Asharet of the Melech HaMalchi HaMlachim, of the King of Kings. That's the proper way to understand Shalom Aleichem. You know, not me Melech. Who's Melech? What? You're asking them, me Melech. Oh, it's like, you know, who won the elections? You know, was it Biden or Trump? You know, me Melech. Who's the king? Me Malach. That's not the proper way to say that, right? So if you want to correct it, Rav Mutzafi also talked about this. You know, our friend Shalom likes Rav Mutzafi. So Rav Mutzafi says about this, you know, Ta'ut mefusam. It's a famous mistake that people don't know. A lot of people don't know about this. You know that that's not mi melech, mi melech. What mean that? Sometimes the girsa, you know, gets distorted and corrupted as time goes on. That's probably what happened over there. You know, the song got distorted a little bit. Okay, very, very good. Let's go on a little bit with the...
So how are you doing this with the Yaman minyan?
Which minyan?
The Temanim, if you was praying with them, it's very, very, very hard to understand how they pray. Because the appreciation of the words that they're using is not the same way.
Yeah, their accent is totally different. So, you know, I'll tell you honestly with you, I prayed with them a couple of times in Israel. You know, just like you said, it's very difficult.
Very hard to pray.
But you know what it is? You just like follow. You go with the flow. You know? You pretty much identify like where they are, you know, more or less, and you try to go, you know, like you do the best you can, you know. But the truth is, you know, for us, better to go to a Sephardi minyan, you know. We can understand what they're saying.
The way you're explaining right now, the Yamans, the way they pray, it's a big difference.
So what does that mean? What are they doing?
The appreciation of the words.
Yeah, well,
it's
you know,
the same way
tell me something interesting, you know.
And Yamans, they understand.
Yes. When I was a kid, you know, I tell you, I used to read some books in English, you know, Torah books. So there was one book called Midrash Says. You know, everybody knows this book. It's very famous. People read it. It's like in English, you know, Midrashim in English. Midrash Says. So over there, the author of that book, he writes on the bottom some footnotes. He says over there that the real, you know, pronunciation of the Hebrew is Temani. You know, like that's the real one. You know. So the truth is that he's very mistaken what he says. The real pronunciation is not Temani. That's a big mistake. So we already talked about this a little bit before, right? So the question is why? Why is Temani not the real one? How do we know that? There's several reasons for that. Number one, you know, in halakha, we have the rule of majority, rov, you know, majority. You know, umrav lesi. So what does that mean? Since they're not the majority, we assume that they're wrong. We always go with the majority, you know? So the majority doesn't say like that. That's one thing, you know? So we shouldn't go like that because of that reason as well. But there's also another reason which is even stronger, which is that the Temanim, you know, if you know the story, I'll tell you something interesting, right? And we'll stop here. I don't want to keep you too long. We'll finish it next time, some other time. So regarding the Temanim, you know, it says, right, that when Ezra Sofer was trying to bring back the people to the Second Temple, the Beit Sheni, he was, you know, he went personally to every country, you know, and told them, please come back, we need you, you know. We're building our nation again, you know. Don't stay in the Chutz La'aretz, don't stay in the diaspora, come back. So he went to Teman, you know, he went to even Teman. And Teman is very far, by the way, from Eretz Israel. Very far. It's like below Saudi Arabia, you know, can you imagine? It's a long trip. You know? It's a long trip, Teman. So Ezra, he went there by foot. He didn't have no Cadillac, you know, or a Mercedes, you know. He went by foot. He walked there. He walked to Teman. So what happened? Once he got there, it says, right, that he spoke to the leaders over there of the community. He told them, you know, we want you to come back. We're building the Beit Sheni. So Timanim told them, they said, excuse me, you know, but we're not going to come back with you, you know. Have a nice time, you know, enjoy. Enjoy your trip. Right? So Ezra asked him, he said, why don't you want to come back? What's the problem? What's bothering you? So you know what they told him? They told Ezra, we have Masoret, they said, you know, we have a tradition that this Beit which you're building now is going to be destroyed. You know, so why should we come back again, and then again go to Galut one more time, and then come back? You know, let us just stay here. We're stable over here now. We have good economy. We have good money. We have good professions. You know, we're businessmen, merchants. You know, we're making it. You know, we're doing good. Don't mess us up now. So Ezra told them. He said, no. He said, this is not the proper way. What you're saying. You have to believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Whatever's going to be after 400 years, what are you worried about that now? Ba'asher Husham, do whatever you need to do now. What are you worried about 400 years later? What's going to be? That's not your business. So they got into Kamati, you know, fight, you know, Ichchubas, you know, Barbina, you know, they got into a fight. And so what happened was that in the end, they got really angry, you know. Oh, they're Guli Mowidat. Oh, Barbina, you know. So they started to get angry. So they say, right, that Ezra, he cursed them, you know, he cursed the Temanim. You know, he said, Arur! That's Evlichato. I said, you know, that's Evli, you know. Because you're not coming back to Eretz Israel, you are cursed. Arur altem. Shem Yirachem. Lo aleinu. You know? So, he cursed them about several things, by the way, you know. Very specific curses, you know. And one of them was that they should not have a good parnasah over there, you know, not good business. And by the way, it came true. Whatever he cursed them, they didn't have good parnasah. They were always poor over there in Teman. You know, poor country, yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not. Georgian people also, they got hurt.
I'm going to talk about that in a second. Yeah, that's a good point, right? Yes. So now, yeah, exactly. Yes, it's true. But Georgia, you know, is not so far like Teman. Teman is very far, you know. It's like, whoa, that's really far. So he went also to Teman. So what happened was that the Temanim also cursed him. They said, you Arur. You're telling us Arur? You're Arur. You know, they fought like this, you know. They also had Rabbanim over there, you know, Temanim. You know, they're big Chachamim. You know, can you imagine? They got into a ruckus like this, you know. So they say that, you know, the curse that Ezra made on them came true. They were poor, and also he cursed them that they should be downtrodden, you know, like second-class people over there. They should be treated like second class. That's the way it always was. The Temanim always discriminated against them. Whatever he cursed them, it came true. That's right. So what happened was that they cursed him. So what happened was that he went back to Eretz Israel, you know, and before he got home, he died. He died, you know, so that's what happens, you should know, by the way. That's what the Chazal tell us, you know. When it comes to machloket, stay away from it, you know, don't get involved, because everybody's going to get hurt over there. Don't put your face into. Don't be a wise guy, you know, brave guy, you know, hero, gibor, you know, and come in and say, I'll solve all the problems, you know. Talk to me, you know. They'll kill you. They'll slaughter you over there. Don't get involved with machloket. When it's machloket, stay out of it. Go home and you know, go do your business. Don't get into machloket. Machloket kills everybody. Nobody survives. This is what happens, you know. So now, regarding the Georgians, right, I want to finish here. The truth is that he also came to Georgia, Ezra, you know, and he also came to Iran. You know, at that time the Bukharians were not in Bukhara; they were in Iran. That's what it is, right? So he came to Iran, he came to Georgia, and also they didn't want to come back. You know, so he was having a hard time. You know, the truth is, it says in the book of Ezra, how many people came back from the Galut to the second temple? You know how many people it was? About 40,000, small group of people, you know. You can't even fill up Yankee Stadium with that amount of people.
Our Masoret, we send all the Kohanim and Levim to Ezra.
It's true, but still, you know, because in the Beit Rishon, Most of the Jews were killed over there, by Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, Shem Yirachem. Right? They killed off most of the Jews. There wasn't many Jews left as it is. You know what I mean? So who came back? Only 40,000 people came back. And in the end, by the way, when the second temple ended, there was millions of people there already. It grew exponentially. It became huge. But in the beginning, it was very, very small. So what happened with the Georgians is, I was told by some Chachamim. He told me, that he came to the Georgians. He told them, you want to come back. The Georgians told him, no, we don't want to come back. So he told them, at least give me your Kohanim and Levim. I want to take them because I need them. I need Kohanim and Levim for the Avodah. So he took all the Kohanim and Levim from the Jewish people, from the Georgians. That's why they don't have. They had to bring from other places, the Georgians. Persia, Iraq, they had to bring Kohanim because they didn't have Kohanim. Ezra took all of them. This is what happened, But at least, Baruch Hashem, there was no curses over there, at least that much. We didn't have this kamati, this kind of thing. Okay, Baruch Adonai Le'olam, amen, amen. לפי חנניה המלך שאומר, צריך הקדוש ברוך הוא לעשות בישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורמות צור של מונה חפץ, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.